Very much. We'll now move to a round of 5-minute questions by the senators. Now begin. Dr. Gordon, you're a scholar of education, finance, and legislation. Let me ask you this: the language in the law on supplement and supplant has as its goal to say that a school district can't use Title I money to replace state and local money, a fairly straightforward proposal. Why the language we thought was pretty plain and clear. Why is there a need for regulation of that law? Isn't it possible just to read the law and know what to do without the department elaborating on it through regulation?
Thank you for your question, Senator. I'll read the law because there's a lot of questions about the law, and it's
I
actually
only have 5 minutes here.
one sentence. The methodology used to allocate state and local funds to each school receiving assistance under this part ensures that such school receives all of the state and local funds it would otherwise receive were it not receiving assistance under this part, and this part is Title I. To me, that sentence is clear. I've read that sentence more times than most people. So I understand how clarification could be useful to some people, but interestingly, this part of the law already applied to school-wide programs under No Child Left Behind. And the Department of Education issued extensive guidance in July of 2015, clarifying how to interpret this with the types of examples.
Let me interrupt just because I have only 5 minutes for questions. If the effect of the proposed regulation, because it would require Title I schools to spend on average an amount that's at least as much or greater than non-Title I schools, that would seem to me, would you say that would be an attempt to equalize spending among schools in a school district? Wouldn't the effect of doing that attempt to equalize spending?
I'm not an attorney, I'm an economist, so to me, yes.
Well, there's a provision in the law, section 1605, that says nothing in this title shall be construed to mandate equalized spending per pupil for a state, local education agency or school. I agree that the proposed regulation specifically attempts to equalize spending, which could be a laudable goal. I think Wyoming may do that. It may be the only state that does that. But the federal law says you may not do that. Let me move to Ms. Weingarten for a moment. You mentioned in your testimony that you were not only concerned about this regulation either contradicting or not following specific provisions of the law, but what that might mean for future regulations. My understanding was that the whole discussion, or most of the discussion about fixing No Child Left Behind, was the consensus that we had was we'd keep the federally required tests, and we'd even expand the amount of data that was used to let people know what the results of the tests were. But then what to do about the results of the tests became the responsibility of those closest to the children, the classroom teachers, the school boards, the governors, the legislatures, and the parents. That's called the accountability system. What about what the department is doing with this proposed regulation worries you about what might happen with future regulations involving the so-called accountability system?
Thank you for the question. I share Janet Murguia's concerns in terms of the accountability system. That is where most of the real thought needs to go into what are the guardrails and what is the flexibility that states should have to actually think about what constitutes real student learning these days and how do we actually help kids get there, particularly our most vulnerable kids. And the fact that the department seems to be doing same old in terms of overly being trying to rewrite history in terms of supplement, not supplant, as opposed to really thinking about how do we ensure that there's flexibility that really looks at what kids need through the lens of the practitioners is what is concerning all of us in terms of any number of issues, like the weights, like the definition of significant, the definition of evidence, what's going to happen in terms of the 95% participation rate. And so it is whittling away the goodwill that all of us have to actually helping all kids succeed, particularly our most vulnerable kids.
Thank you very much, Senator Murray.